I'm using a new platform for the first time. So if anyone is here, if you can tell me if you can hear me or not, that'd be awesome. Today we're going to be covering how to create a clarifying shampoo, and we are going to use our extracts that we made yesterday. So yesterday we talked about making an Amla Hibiscus extract. We talked about making one in water. So your water one is going to be preserved, right? You can also make one in aloe vera juice that's preserved. Then we talked about making extracts in glycerin or 1,3-propane diol. And we also mentioned making an extract in oil. Okay, so now let's talk about clarifying shampoos and what makes them different from moisturizing shampoos. So when a lot of people approach me, they are wanting to make moisturizing and detangling shampoos. And that's all well and good, but sometimes we do need to clarify the hair. And the reason why we can't use a moisturizing and detangling shampoo primarily to clarify the hair is because the things that make your hair feel detangled, that give that slip to a shampoo, um, they are coating and conditioning agents, right? So the things that we use to coat and condition our hair and detangle our hair um, actually build up in the hair, right? We're adding product to the hair that we don't want to go away. Whereas the cleaning process, the soapy bit of your shampoo is aiming to clean debris and dirt and excess oils from your hair and scalp. So if you have too much of the conditioning stuff, it's going to conflict with the soapy bit, right? To a degree. So it's a true clarifying shampoo is not going to have conditioning agents. So many of you know, especially in the natural hair community, because you've studied hair to death, right? That when you have, let me just take my son's preschool pencil here. So when you have, like, let's just say this is the cuticle of your hair, right? And so when you wash it, what you do is, right now the cuticles are flat. So when you wash it, it ruffles the cuticle so that the scales on the cuticle are now facing up, right? So it's just like if you're petting a dog or a cat, there's a certain way that their fur runs, right? So if you pet a dog or a cat from its tail up to its head, its fur is going to stand up, right? But if you pet it from its head to its tail, the fur is going to just lay down flat. So when we shampoo our hair, it causes the cuticle to get ruffled, and so all the like cuticle scales, they sort of curl up a bit, right? And on top of that, when we wash our hair, we add a excuse me, a negative charge to the hair, right? So freshly washed hair with no product in it has a slight negative charge to it. So what we do after that is we add a conditioner, and then the conditioner is going to help those cuticles lie back down flat, right? It's going to coat the hair and make it lie down back flat, and it's going to add a positive charge to the hair, right? So that's your cationic, um, ingredients. Your quats, sometimes they're called quaternary conditioners, cationic, conditioning agents. Those are going to make your hair lie back flat. And that's what we find in conditioners and in conditioning shampoos and also in a lot of leave-in products, which is why when you use conditioner and you use leave-in products, your hair has that polished look. Your hair just looks better after a conditioner than it does after just washing your hair with soapy water or with shampoo or whatever. So a clarifying shampoo does not have as many of those conditioning agents because you really are looking to clean the scalp and hair. So that's the difference. And that's why a clarifying shampoo is also so easy to make. So let's talk about shampoo. People get really caught up in thinking that a shampoo is hard and it's difficult. It really isn't. And I want to speak to you in a way that demystifies this completely, this process. All a shampoo is thickened, soapy water. That's it. That's all it is. It's water and soap, and you thicken the water to make a sort of like a gummy paste, and then you add your soapy bit, and you add a preservative, and that's it. That's enough to make a shampoo, is thickened water, soap, and preservative. That's it. Now the soap bit is going to be a little bit more sophisticated, right? And so obviously, let's just assume from the gate we're not even dealing with sulfates, right? But we're looking at the soapy bit, which is your surfactant, and the surfactants come, you know, in various degrees of harshness, let's just say. And so African black soap would be a surfactant. That's a kind of a surfactant, right? Cocamidopropyl betaine or cocoa betaine, that is a surfactant. Decyl glucoside, that's another surfactant. I'm just mentioning sulfate-free ones. And so a lot of times when you look at formulas or people are teaching you how to make shampoos and so forth, they'll talk about a primary conditioner, a primary surfactant and a secondary surfactant. And I think for beginners, it takes them to a crazy place very quickly. I say don't even look at that discussion if you're really super fresh and starting out, or you're super intimidated by science. I would just get a surfactant blend. A lot of companies that sell cosmetic products will sell you a sulfate-free surfactant blend that already mixes all the primary and secondary and tertiary and all of that for you, right? So that's one way of doing it. Another way, excuse me, is to just pick something that sort of can be used without going into much complication. So cocamidopropyl betaine is a surfactant you can use, and you can use it by itself, and it'll work reasonably well as a shampoo. And you see it in a lot of really popular shampoos like Kinky Curly Not Today, I think, has that as its primary surfactant. Not Kinky Curly Not Today, Kinky Curly Come Clean, I think, is the name of their clarifying shampoo. So there are a lot of brands that will use just cocamidopropyl betaine. So some people think, oh, but I've heard that that can be bad, and this and that. It's not bad at all. It's completely sulfate free. To this day, you'll still see it in a lot of baby products that are certified organic, right? And the thing with cocamidopropyl betaine is that, much like something like citrus oils, like if you look at lemon oil or orange oil or grapefruit essential oil, all of those oils, they're completely natural, they're completely harmless, but I can't put any of those anywhere near my face or scalp because I will have a breakout for weeks. That's because I have a serious allergy to citrus. I don't really have an allergy, but my skin is very photosensitive, becomes very photosensitized when I use citrus on my face or scalp, because that area is always going to be exposed to the most sun, right? So when I go out in the sun and I have a citrus oil on, it just creates like a scaliness and a redness and a weirdness. It doesn't mean that that's bad. It just means I can't use it. So cocamidopropyl betaine, sometimes for some people who might have, say, eczema or some kind of skin inflammation, some people find it irritating, right? So there's a small possibility that a small fraction of the population will find it irritating. I have super sensitive skin and I don't find it irritating. So, just take that with a grain of salt when people start saying the cocamidopropyl betaine thing is bad. Decyl glucoside is a really lovely one as well. I really love that in shampoos. And it has a nice feel in most of the shampoos that it's in. So that's also an alternative if you only wanted to use just one surfactant. yeah, or you can use a combo of surfactants if you want to. You can just go to any cosmetic website and just go to the surfactant section and just read the descriptions in each one and then determine for yourself how you want to do it. But I think a surfactant blend is a really easy way to do that, and I will go ahead and mention that when we get to sharing, mention a few examples here in the States when we get to sharing our screen and sort of show you how to look for them on other websites in other countries. Yeah, so that's my intro to what a clarifying shampoo is. Right, so you have water, you have your surfactant, you have a thickener, and obviously you're going to preserve it, right? So there are ways of making it fancy. The surfactant is the surfactant. We're not necessarily going to make that fancy, but you can make the water portion fancy, right? So instead of water, we're going to use our preserved Amla Hibiscus Extract. We're going to use either the one in water or the one in aloe juice, right? That preserved extract that we made yesterday, or that we talked about making yesterday, that is the one that we will use as the water portion base of our shampoo, which immediately kicks it up a notch, right? And then, you know, if we wanted to, we can add some other things, and we'll talk about that in a bit. But without much further ado, I will share my screen and we can start doing our formulation. I'm just going to look at the chat real quick just to see if there's any comments. Good morning, Dee Smith. Good morning, all praise Oluwase. You said hello from this side. I don't know where this side is. Is that the UK? Is it Nigeria? I'm not really sure where it is. Good morning, Shinda. All right, so I'm glad that this is actually working. I'm using a new system, and so just forgive me if I am a little clumsy. So I'm going to share my screen, and I'm going to go here to this little document that I started that, like I promised, would be blank, and we would build it together. All right, so the first thing we're going to do, so let's call this Amla, oops, I'm in the wrong area here. Amla and Hibiscus Clarifying Shampoo. So we'll do a basic recipe, or basic formula, we should say, right? And so this we'll say Amla Hibiscus extract, and then here in parentheses I'll say water or aloe, preserved, of course. Okay, the next thing we're gonna have is a thickener. I'm going to choose Irish moss powder just because it is it's easy to use. It works really well, and it also has a moisturizing effect on the hair, and it might give just a tiny little bit of slip, right? Because Irish moss kind of helps to give slip, so the clarifying shampoo doesn't feel quite so, leaving your hair like a Brillo pad feeling, right? So it's going to get the job done. Irish moss is also a seaweed, so it can have that sort of mineralizing effect on the hair. So it can also help to strengthen the hair and help to grow the hair. So we'll use Irish moss powder as our thickener, and then we'll use, let's just say we're going to use Optifen Plus as our preservative, right? And and we need a surfactant. So we'll just say we're going to use a surfactant blend. Okay, and it doesn't matter which one you use. And then what I like to do is, so let's just say if we use this at, let's use this, let's start at 1%. Okay, and then we'll do this at 1%. And then our surfactant blend, to get a good amount of bubbles going without anything else in it, and if it's just the water and the thickener, you could probably get away with 35% surfactant blend. But when we look at our recipes that we'll do after this, right, you start adding fancy things, then you're going to need to add more surfactant so that you don't suppress the lathering aspect of it. So let's just say for this, we just start with 35% surfactant blend. So that's 35, 36, 37. So that means we have 63% left to create our, make sure that our formula equals 100%. So you always want your formula to equal 100%. All right. And so then the next thing I like to do is to create a small batch, a test batch, and to create let's start with ounces, and then after that we'll do things in grams for our friends in the UK, or really the rest of the world that's jumped ahead of us here in the United States, and they're using the metric system. So the small batch is 10 ounces, and I like to make it 10 ounces because that's easy for everyone. So so for example, okay, so that would be 10 ounces. And then for the big batch, that would be 63 ounces. Okay, and then for the small batch, 1% would be 0.1 ounces. And here it would be 1 ounce. And then for the small batch, it would be 3.5 ounces. And this would be 35 ounces. And then this, of course, would be the same. Right. So then here, I'd like to go here and do small batch or test batch. Let's just call it test batch. Test batch, right? And then this can then be large batch. And I make that bold so that you know what you're looking at. Okay, so this will be your basic formula, right? So when you never want to move to a large batch before you've done your test batch, ever, 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 okay? And then this, I'm going to color code blue, and you'll see why in a minute. And then this, I'm going to make this red. And then this, I will make this green. Okay. All right. And then we're going to repeat the same thing essentially, but we're going to change the measurements a bit for our friends in the UK. Right. So over here, let's just put formula in ounces. And then formula in grams, right? And then for our grams, we're going to do the same thing. So our test batch, we could do 100 ounces, but 100 ounces is not very much. It's going to be like about 3 ounces. But I guess for the sake of a clarifying shampoo, that's fine. It just becomes very difficult in some instances to mix something that small, especially when we get to the Irish moss powder bit, which I'll explain when we do the directions for this formula. So I'm going to make the test batch 200 ounces, and I'm going to make the large batch, I'll make it 200 grams, and I'll make the large batch 2,000 grams, right? So that should get you about 9 or so large shampoos, 200, 230 ml shampoos. And the 100 ounces should get you about probably 10 or 11 8-ounce shampoos, right? And you don't really want to make stuff in larger quantities than that, because that's how people make mistakes and things go awry. So let me go under here and just put 10 ounces. And, oh, I should have done it this way. So that's 10 ounces. So as we build this formula line by line, you can see it's not really as hard as people try to make it out to be. There is some math and there is some science to it, but if you're not a cosmetic chemist, you don't have to make it this huge ordeal. And the way I write the formula, I don't even write it like phase 1, phase 2, because I find that most people become very intimidated by that, and then they start to feel like they can't do it. So I'm trying to make it so that you feel like this is possible for you, or else what is the point? You might as well just hire a chemist if you don't feel that this is possible for you. But you know what? People who aren't even as smart as you have done this before, so you can do it too. Yeah, so because it's 200 grams, it's going to be, it's going to involve a little bit more math, not much. But so if it was 100 grams, we'd just say 63 grams here, right, to get the 63%. But because we have to multiply by 2, it's going to be 126 grams. And then this, you just add a 10 to it, right? So you do 1260 grams. Okay, 1% would be 1 gram. Because it's 200 grams, we're going to say it's 2 grams. 2 grams. Always forget to leave a space there. And then this would be 20 grams. Okay, then this would be, instead of 35 grams, would be 70 grams. So 70 grams, and this would be 700 grams. 700 grams, and then again, this would be 2 grams, and this would be 20 grams. Okay, so is that clear to everyone so far? Let me just go to the chat real quick and see. Waiting to see. I am unable to see your shared screen. Oh, wow. Okay. Can you guys see my stream now? Can you see my shared screen? Um, I can't tell if you can see my screen or not. Can someone please type in the chat if you can see my screen? That would be awesome. Because I don't know if this was from earlier before I was sharing. Can't see nothing, no. And that's at 6. You can't see my screen. Oh, Restream, why are you doing this? Stop screen sharing. Okay, share screen. So if I share my screen, share my entire screen, and then hit share. All right. So stop. Okay, so can you guys see my screen now? I'm so sorry that you didn't get to see this whole time. That really sucks. No, you still can't see my screen. I do not know why you can't see my screen. This is kind of strange that you can't see my screen. Okay. No, just me. Okay. So it says Restream is sharing my screen, but you actually aren't seeing my screen. Wow, thanks guys for hanging in there with me, even though you couldn't see my screen. Like I literally don't know what to do here now. Why can't you see my screen? You see just me. You see just me. Contain, cover. Why wouldn't it let you see my screen? Like I literally don't know why it's doing this. This is so annoying. Sharing your screen. And in the chat you're saying, no, you can't see my screen. Wow, guys, maybe switch the camera around? No, it can't be because I can't switch the camera around. It's just gonna face forward. Hi, Wynetta. We're just trying to figure out. This tab is sharing your screen. So I don't see. So that's me. So what's this? I don't understand why it's not sharing my screen. Because it shows that it's sharing for me. All right. I don't know how to manage this so that it doesn't do this. I might have to, oh Lord, I might have to redo this on Zoom. I might have to just at the end of the stream, just remove the stream and redo it on Zoom like I did yesterday. See, this is what I get for trying to be fancy. Yeah, I don't know why it's not sharing my screen. So basically, I've made the formula for you guys in ounces, and I've made it for you in grams. And I was about to start typing in for you what we can do to I was about to start typing the directions. I'm not going to lose momentum. We've already come this far. So basically what you would do is you'd take your Amla Hibiscus water, you'd take your Irish moss powder, and you'd use a stick immersion blender. Of course, because I can't share my screen, I can't show you what one looks like. But basically, it's the blenders that are like a stick that you just plunge in. So an immersion blender. That's what you would use. You absolutely need to use that for this particular function. And you would thicken your Amla Hibiscus extract until it became sort of like a gel, right? And so I have a video where I show you how to make various thickeners. And then Making Cosmetics also has a video where they show you how to make various thickeners. So I will link both of those on this document so you can understand the visual of what it looks like to make those thickeners and the kind of texture you're going for. Then once you get that texture, you want to take a whisk. Okay, you don't want to use anything other than a whisk. If you use a stick blender to blend in your surfactant, you're going to have bubbles just kind of come out. If you use a whisk and you whisk it as if you were whisking eggs or something, or like pancake batter, you will have lots of bubbles. So what you want to do is you want to take your whisk, okay, there's my hand. Sorry, it's all awkward. I'm trying to not show you my chipped nail polish. I still haven't gone to the store to get nail polish remover. And then you're going to go to, you're going to get a whisk, and then you're going to blend at the bottom of the bowl, right? Small, tight circles. You're going to whisk it in like this. If you whisk it like this, you're introducing air into the mixture. And as you introduce air, you're going to create bubbles, okay? So you want to then whisk in your surfactant. And then once the surfactant is in there, any other ingredients you add, you're whisking in. You're just going to hand whisk it in. And then when it's fully mixed and even and doesn't feel lumpy or separated in any way, you're just going to add your preservative, and you're going to bottle and enjoy. Now, there are ways to enhance this mixture, right? So you can enhance it with bamboo extract. You can enhance it with, you know, so basically, let's talk about ways to enhance this. So the things that people are trying to avoid in clarifying shampoos is having their hair feel stripped, right? So the things you want to add to a clarifying shampoo to enhance it are the things that will make your hair feel a little bit less stripped without actually coating the hair with, quats or cationic substances or conditioning agents like we talked about before. So what would you be adding to avoid that? You can add humectants. So humectants are going to draw moisture to the hair. So you can add honey. You can add any of the seaweed gels, like Sea Kelp Bioferment, or Formulate Samples Shop has one called Algae Moist O. And I'll put those all in the document that somehow I'm unable to share. So I will make a separate video with that document. And I'll upload it to both Facebook and YouTube later, seeing as I figured out that I can't share my screen on this service. So I'll have to switch back to Zoom, because Zoom at least will let me share my screen. And then what else can you add? You can add bamboo extract. So there are many different kinds of bamboo extract. I would add specifically the kind that's in water and glycerin, because that's going to add a bit of moisture. It's going to add slip and shine. Another one you could add is rhodiola hair active, which I've seen at Making Cosmetics, but basically it's in Tara gum gel. So Tara gum gel is another one that you could use. Tara gum makes a good thickener too. You could experiment with using that instead of Irish moss, and it's also a humectant. So that is one that you could add to create moisture and so forth. Another thing you can do is add oil. Now, if you add oil, you'll also need to add a solubilizer, right? So if you add something like 1% oil, that probably you can get away with even without a solubilizer, and it won't separate out, So like if you were adding 1% essential oil, for the essential oil properties, you probably wouldn't need a solubilizer. If you're adding 0.5 to 1% fragrance oil, you wouldn't need a solubilizer really. But once you start going above that, you're going to need a solubilizer, because the surfactant usually is kind of gummy and will hold some, level of oil, right? So once you start going above the 1%, you're gonna need a solubilizer. And so for a shampoo that's a clarifying shampoo that has no other emulsifiers, I would not add more than like 3% oil. And 3% oil is kind of on the heavy side, right? So only really thick curly hair would be able to handle 3% oil in a shampoo. Every other kind of hair texture would find it too greasy. So yeah, so those are things that you can add to the shampoo to then make it a little bit more, to make the feel of it and the experience of it a little bit more pleasant for people who are not wanting to clarify to begin with. But that's probably something that most people need to do on a regular basis, at least once or twice a month, assuming that you're washing your hair once a week. You know, or I would say every 3 washes if you're using things that have really gentle ingredients and you're not using a lot of build-up-y things that have polymers and like sticky gels and stuff. You could get away with once a month or once every 3 washes. All right. So so you could use a bulk base as your clarifying shampoo. Most of the shampoos on the market really kind of go into that clarifying category. There aren't a whole lot of shampoos that are made for us, you know, that are going to be on the moisturizing, detangling, truly moisturizing and detangling like we would like. So, so for those, you would use your Amla Hibiscus Extract that you made in glycerin or that you made in propane diol, and you would just add it at like 5 or 10% to your formula. You can even get away with adding it at 3%, okay, to your formula, and that's it. Because it's in glycerin or because it's in propane diol, especially the propane diol one. That one is kind of self-preserving, and propane diol does have a way of allowing preservatives to work better. So if you added it in propane diol, you don't even have to add extra preservative, right? You can just add it in propane diol and you're done. So that extract you made in propane diol, you add it at 5 or 10% to your bulk base and you're done. And now you've customized your bulk base to be a little bit more more yours, right? And you've added unique ingredients to it. All right, so I'm just going to go back and look at the chat to see if there are any questions. I'm so sorry that, can you get the ingredients? Yeah, I never ever do that in a live demo because it's just too difficult for me to set up. I do have a course. It's a shampoo course. And it's $49, and I mix the thickeners for you. I do the basic formulating, the basic shampoo, the moisturizing shampoo, all of the things. I get those done for you in that particular one. But there are so many YouTube videos that show you how to mix these things, right? But they don't show you how to formulate or how to think about creating your own formula. So you can always watch all the free stuff on YouTube just to see how to mix it. But the key is knowing also, in addition to how to mix it, is to mix it the right way. Okay, so yeah, that's what I would suggest. I'm so sorry you guys couldn't see my screen. That really, it almost sort of defeated the purpose. So this says stop sharing, so I might as well stop sharing the share that was never happening anyway. And you guys don't seem to have any questions. And I will, before my kids wake up, recreate this video. All right, take care.